it's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. As I've been bringing you some interesting and fabulous guests lately, very different, and each one has a unique story. And this has been so interesting for me to learn about different women's journeys as business leaders and how we show up and what we do. And I was introduced to Keli Kane through a mutual friend of ours. And somebody came to me and said, "You have to meet Keli." And I said, "Why?" She's like, "You'll know when you meet her." Keli has a loving, compassionate demeanor, which is why Jackie said I had to meet her. She was destined to teach young children, has been a kindergarten teacher and a reading specialist for numerous years. She's certified to teach grades 1 through 6, as well as her specialty in reading that just goes on and on and on since 2003. She has hunkered her life down to change the lives of our children. And then Keli had an unexpected trauma in her life that Keli's going to share, and it's actually starting to shift her trajectory. It's interesting, here at Her Success Story, we're always talking about the advanced businesses, the leadership. We don't always talk about the transitions. So today, Keli's going to bring her gift and her openness to share about her transition and how she's shifting her world of teaching young children to continue to teach in a different way. That doesn't mean she's not going to be in the classroom this September, though. Keli, thanks for joining me here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Ivy. I'm so excited to be here.
So share a little bit, first of all, what brought you to teach? Like we don't talk enough about one of the most important professions, and that's the teachers of our young children and our adult children, the people who take their heart on their sleeves and really dedicate themselves. So what brought you to that career?
Yes, I know that I had a little bit of that innate ability when I was younger to just connect with animals and people, and my heart was always just really, really big. So I knew in kindergarten that I was going to be a teacher because I would come home from school and line up my stuffed animals and start teaching them, as soon as I would come home. And that was my form of play. So clearly I was like, you're destined to be a teacher. What kind of teacher? I wasn't really sure. What kind of teacher I was going to be. So at first it was like performance arts, and no, I'm going to be a Spanish teacher. No, but I always stayed in that field. I knew I was going to. Yeah, I was going to, no matter what I was going to teach, it was fine tuned. You could see a little bit of theatrics in me, and it works out in teaching. So that's fine. I was a performance arts major for a little bit. So I just always knew I was going to be a healer type person. So I feel like teaching is healing. So I, got my degree. I immediately went back and got my master's degree and started teaching in 2003 as a reading specialist from middle school. I did middle school for 10 years, high school for 1.5 years, switched over to the elementary building, and I've been there since. In the last 5 years, I've really harbored in on teaching kindergarten. There's 4 or 5 classes, depending on the fluctuation of students for the past 5 years. They really taught me the whole beginning of how the process all starts. And it was just, I've seen it I've now done pre-K to 12th grade, and I have seen the full changing thing, of how this all develops. It's so amazing. So I have so much experience because the students that I work with, they're special needs, or they've had trauma, or, they have difficulties reading and they're struggling. So I've always been part counselor, part speech person, part all of this, parent even, providing things out of my own pocket because I care about them so much. This caretaking is that's what I was designed to do. It fell into the lap. Yeah.
And a curveball happened in your life.
Yes.
I remember you sharing, you were going to watch your son play baseball, and your life changed on a dime. You want to share a little bit about, because that was the trajectory of now where you're going next.
Correct. I was supposed to take my son over to the baseball field. He was 7. And of course, in a hurried mess, you're trying to get everything done. And
mom who's trying to get everything done. We're working, we're parenting, we're doing what moms do.
Right, correct. So he ran out in his Nikes and I thought, oh no, I've got to be the perfect mom. At that time, I learned that lesson. There is no perfect. But at the time,
get things done.
I was like, I'm going to hurry back and get, his cleats. So I made it back home. Returning back, it was 2 minutes and I did not make it back. I was struck by a drunk driver at 10:42 on a Saturday morning. Extremely intoxicated. The car was totaled. I suffered a brain injury. I had to work for 4 years with 14 healers. I was deemed mentally disabled for almost 2 years. I didn't teach for 2 years. So through all of this came my spiritual side and healing as well, where I started becoming a Reiki master and going back to a pastor and studied shamanism. My best friend is still a shaman, and branched out in all these spiritual practices and brought out my own gift, realizing, oh, aha, you kind of are gifted, and was hiding that for a while and was trying to figure out a way to intertwine my teaching and this spiritual gift that I'm now announcing to everyone after I had to, quite honestly, redesign myself. I lost a lot. I had to find out who knew Keli was, because old Keli was not there. I lost speech, handwriting, couldn't walk. Like I said, I went to therapies for years, but then the pandemic came after you get comfortable teaching, and I'm like, I've got it. Yes. And then the pandemic comes.
Okay, I've worked through, I've retrained, I've done this, that, and the other thing. And then when the pandemic came about, it was again a different shift.
And had to completely revamp and learn how to, I feel like I was supposed to get a degree on technology. We had to teach kindergartners, like college students, on the computer. That was
I never
so hard.
got, how do you teach a kindergartner on Zoom? Because if anything, and I say we broadly, I'll speak from a place of I. Young kids, I want to limit their screen time, be aware of how much screen, yet now you're putting them in front of a screen for hours as you are like this animated teacher.
Yes. And that's where the performance art really had to step out for me. I had to really, really ham it up and start, getting comfortable virtually. So that was kind of another segue of how I would be comfortable doing this, podcasting and such. It taught me, you got to get out there, because I wasn't teaching children. I was teaching child parent, because they had to sit there or else the kids weren't learning. So I had to really be comfortable in my skin. You're teaching in front of all these parents. So it was a whole different dynamic. And it really challenged me to just step up and own it. Like, you're a master and you're going to go out there and you're going to show that you know how to do this, no matter what, thick or thin. But at the same time that all of this was happening, both of my parents were passing away at the same time. So I was trying to teach online. I was on the phone with the hospital. I'm on the phone with the nursing home. We couldn't even see our parents. We had to see them, looking through a glass window and door and such for their last days. And then when my mom was passing away, which was around my birthday of 2020 in May, I pulled her out. And on the 11th day, of home hospice care, my father slipped, fell, hit his head, and he passed away first. So they died 36 hours apart.
Oh, wow.
Leaving me an instant orphan.
The traumatic experience of going through that is so massive. And that was after your own personal challenges. So there's, listeners, I know this is not necessarily the usual success story interview, yet I want you to think about things about rising within resilience. I want you to think about, life happens, and then we have a choice as leaders of what to make of it. And that's why I have Keli here today, because life happened for Keli, but she has made the choices to shift and grow. And I think that's such a model of leadership. and to embrace new talents that you have. And at this point in your life saying, hey, I'm going to go build, as I'm teaching now, and my son is older, you're going to build a new business and take on more, because you're that kind of unstoppable woman. And I think that is a form of leadership.
Yes,
that we don't often talk about.
I immediately, the wheels were turning. I got to be able to help save other people. It wasn't just about me, and this was not to toot my own horn. It was, how can I help farther? How can I get out there? How can I reach more? How can I just service others? And so the first part was by doing the book. I didn't know how else to start. Oh, and of course, TV guest bird. Thank you, Jackie. By doing the podcast and meeting wonderful people like yourself, getting the word out there, and trying to show people, this is the way we can get through our trauma. This is how I can help you. And then I started to try and build in the spiritual practice. So I'm trying to get the Reiki built in, and I did the website. I'm baby stepping it forward. I'm really putting my best foot forward to designing this building or business, designing the business and taking off. So I'm working hard. I'm trying.
So let's talk a little bit about the book, because, you would think, oh, if you're a teacher, it's probably easy to write a book. But, having written a couple of books, and on my next one, I never say it's easy to write a book. Angel in the Mirror, Healing Traumatic Brain Injury and PTSD through Western medicine and spirituality. And I think one of the amazing things that drew me personally is the embracing of the Western medicine with spirituality and a healing perspective. What was a little bit of your experience with that, and then share about the process of writing a book on this? It's a lot. Let's call a spade, Keli. It's you and I here. It's a lot.
It is a lot. So, I had the 14 healers. I had the neurofeedback. I would go and meet with, I made sure the neurosurgeon, I saw the neuropsychologist, I saw the psychologist, the list goes on. I had just 14 healers working on me. And so I was always doing the medicinal side, the Western medicine side. They had me on Percocet, Xanax, Flexeril, all of those things. I'm a small person. It was very, very difficult to take all those drugs, still raise a 7-year-old, still try and rehab, still try and take care of your parents because they're both passing and you're their power of attorney. So plate was always full. It was always full. Even though I was mentally disabled, I still was running the best that I could possibly run. And I started to weave in the spirituality because I thought, I'm not going down like this. It's not good enough. They were like, well, we'll wait 4 years to see if you'll be able to get your speech back. We'll wait 4 years and we'll see what you're left with. No, that wasn't good enough for me. So I was doing Reiki healing, trying to get my energy to the best that it could possibly be, clear. When I worked with the shaman and the psychologist, they work hand in hand. One is, the spiritual side, and one is the Western side, psychologist and shaman, spiritual. And it's funny because those two were the ones that kept healing my past wounds and clearing my energy. One. I've seen them both the entire 9 years. And I can literally tell you that seeing both of them, one of them knows I never have to retell my story. I always have one to go to and, get healed. It's just so beautiful, and I'm trying to show people that there's more than just Western medicine. So I went to the homeopath. I got off all of the drugs that I had to take. And it's just, there's more than one way. Just keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. Even if you're just a little bit better, it's better than the last time. And if you keep doing that, and that comes with tears, it comes with breakdowns. It's not pretty sometimes. There's no glossy look to this, just because, people might see me in pictures. They always say, but you don't look like what you've been through. But I put in the work. I'm trying. I run, I eat right. I do what I'm supposed to do. So, yeah.
So let's talk about the book a little bit.
Okay. So the book, it starts off explaining what the auto accident was, what actually transpired. It talks about healing from a traumatic brain injury, what that looks like, what the injury actually looks like, how you get therapies for it, what happens in the process of healing from that. I definitely talk about the PTSD because there is a very unique aspect that happened. The person that actually hit me, there was a lot of extra PTSD scenarios that went on. And the episodes that I've shared of the PTSD that I went through, especially with my parents dying, is very dark. It was hard to admit it. It was hard to put it on paper and put it out there because I didn't want anyone thinking that I was not a credible, working, smart woman. I showed, like, there was one part of the book where I came home after finding out about my father, and I walked right from the front door into the kitchen, grabbed a bottle of wine, full clothes, walked into the hot tub, sat down, and I'm drinking the bottle. My son comes and he's like, that's something I didn't want to share because it was shock trauma. But if I don't share the shock trauma, how do people know that's what bottom looks like? You got to come back up.
Right. And they say when you hit that bottom, and whatever that looks like for very, very different people, there's only one way to go, and is up when you're willing to do the work to bring yourself there. And you've really dedicated yourself. And I think that the dedication you've put into yourself for transitioning you, being true to your core of who you are, meaning a teacher, a mother, a loving, compassionate giver, and then building from there, not accepting that, and I think that's a lot. And I think that's a huge lesson for all of us. It's so easy to accept, it's good enough. This is what it's going to be, when we sometimes hit those walls, and we've all hit them in different points in time. Keli has had something much more traumatic, thank goodness, than many of us. And, my heart is with you, and more than that, my admiration is with you, of watching you transform. But I think the core of this is we all have those tough times that it feels that I use the expression, feel like I hit that brick wall. Yeah, feel like I hit that. Just recently, there was a lot of personal stuff coming at me from a lot of different directions. Felt I hit that brick wall. And it's in leaning into your story. It's leaning into the book. It's leaning into others who set the example of where it is, of where you can go in the long run. That's when we define her success story. That's what success is. And Keli, I have to just truly thank you for being so authentic and sharing your story, and sharing it with such authenticity, openness, and heart.
I just love the women that I've come across, like you and Jackie and Stephanie, and just all the people that I've had podcasts with already. Everyone's so amazing. And it also heals me every time I talk to someone like you. I get healed more. It's almost like all of you are also my healers, at the same time. So it's amazing.
Women have an amazing ability. I'll lead into that one. Women have amazing ability to stand for one another and continue and bring out our best and see our best nature and heal. And we heal from that. And when we see, in my recent tech talk, I'm going to plug this, damn it. Because this brings home, in my recent TED talk that I did, it's looking at ourselves from somebody else's eyes and seeing our light that way, our brilliance. And I think it's so important. And I think how women do that and stand for one another. And if you don't have somebody in your life that does that for you, listeners, they're out there, connect to them.
Yes, that was the first thing I did, was go virtually and try and find someone to connect with. Yes.
So Keli, how can our listeners learn more about you and follow you and reach out and get the book, etc.?
I love it. You can find the book, Angel in the Mirror, Healing Traumatic Brain Injury and PTSD Through Western Medicine and Spirituality. You can find it on Barnes & Noble, Google, Amazon. It'll pop up. It's on many different sites. I have KeliKaneHealing.com. That's where you could go and find out little events of where I was going. Like I did a book signing in Barnes & Noble one time. I have an event coming up on July 27th at the Hudson River Distillery, right? I have an event coming up. So you can just see where I'm going. Instagram is Angel Teacher, Angel, and then _TCHR. And on
And you
TikTok,
could get videos out there all the time.
all the time.
I love that.
Very, very open, like no makeup, hair's fluffed all crazy, just real, because I want people to see, day-to-day survival. I'm trying to teach. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, it's very real. TikTok and Twitter are the same. It's Keli Kane 11. So yeah, you can find me. I'm out there.
Awesome.
Just trying to help you.
And listeners, know all those links are in our show notes below. So you could just click on, don't panic if you didn't get it all down correctly. The resources are here. Most importantly, what I say that every time at this time in the show, take a moment and think about, from listening to the Keli's, what she shared today, our conversation, what resonated for you? What's your aha, your takeaway? Give yourself the gift of writing that down somewhere. It could be in your phone. It could be on a Post-it note. It could be wherever in a journal. And then decide what action you're going to take for yourself from there. Okay, that is your greatest gift to yourself. Thank you for joining us here on Her Success Story. Keli, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having
And
me.
stay tuned for more wonderful interviews and some great series that we have coming up. See you next time.
Don't need your approval anymore, 'cause I've got mine.